Welcome to episode 15 of Excel Beyond Boundaries with Anita Todorovic, the owner of the Honey House and Healthy and Wealthy Place, which she'll tell you more about later. Welcome to the show.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to do this with you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting me on.
I appreciate you joining us and offering insight. Starting out, how does excelling beyond boundaries, what does that mean to you, would you say?
Yeah, I just want to say I love the title of that, first of all, that you've named this because that just I think that's a really intriguing title. I feel like you don't always talk about excelling boundaries. You always hear pushing the limits, maybe. So excelling boundaries is kind of another way to look at it. And for me, at least, that's always pairing it with that quote where you hear to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
I like that.
That has definitely been a huge role for me in the last few years as I've been developing my businesses because you have to learn how to shift and adapt and change things, and things don't go to plan. And it's like you have one idea of what something might happen, and it's a total 180 of what ends up happening. So that in itself proves that things that you might set up and the boundaries that you might set for a certain intention you have, you can excel it in more ways than one. So I really love that name, and I think that's what it comes down to is being able to grow through all of these just different processes and just really seeing how far you can take things
I
as an
like that.
mm-hmm.
And thank you for that. And actually, I want to ask you about your businesses before getting to everything else, since it kind of plays off of it. Your first one, was that the Honey House or was that the? Oh, yes, it was. Okay. I was asking, starting with your businesses, I wanted to ask you about both of them because it kind of segues into everything we'll talk about later. So you have the Honey House, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have your fitness business as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so the Honey House came first, if you want to tell me about that one.
Yes, yes. So, first of all, I am a beekeeper, local beekeeper here in Vernon Hills. This is a northern suburb of Chicago, and I opened our honey business called The Honey House in October of 2020. So this year we're coming up on 5 years, which is crazy. But yeah, we produce and harvest honey right here in Vernon Hills. We have a bee farm that you can visit. We have a shop front that you can visit as well that's on the bee farm. We are in a couple local grocery stores, coffee shops. I've done farmers markets for 4 seasons now. And then we always just try to do collaborations and different pop-ups and try to be in sponsorships and all these different avenues to support the honey and really the bees behind everything and just educating people about honey and bees and the importance of it. So that's the first business that I have and I've been running for a little while now. And the second business that I had just opened was a year ago in July. So almost a year here. It's called the Healthy and Wealthy Place. And I partnered with my mom who does financial services and I do fitness services. So that's I'm a beekeeper by day and like a fitness trainer by night.
That's
And
cool.
so we opened this place called the Healthy and Wealthy Place where we can first get you healthy and then we can also get you wealthy.
I
So
like that.
yeah, she offers all different types of financial products, and then I do personal fitness, personal training, I should say, that's one-on-one, and it's all custom to you, nutrition included. We have a great facility here too, so it's private and really allows that kind of one-on-one interaction to make sure that people are doing things the right way for their body. So
That's amazing. So they can get the financial education and investments going, and then while they're after the workout, basically.
pretty much. I mean,
That's
you want
cool.
to invest in yourself the same way you would with your money. So they kind of go hand in hand, which is great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be like a franchise down the road.
Definitely. I mean, you think about it when you're wanting to try accumulate wealth for yourself or even manage your finances in a way, it's a long process. And the same thing is applied to our health and our fitness. We want to maintain this. That's why they call it a lifestyle, being in the gym and making sure you upkeep your health because it really is like a long-term process. It's not about the finish line. It's really about the whole race in entirety and just taking your time to make sure that every single day you can do what you can to put your health as a priority.
True. Yeah, they're it's so symbolic of each other, each
Mm-hmm.
one. I have
Definitely.
so many questions. I'm gonna start with the honey house because being a beekeeper is so fascinating. So, what is something that you learned from being a beekeeper that most people don't know? Uh, from taking care of the bees, any aspect of it,
Yeah.
something symbolic, anything.
Yeah. I think uh, the most common question I get asked is if I've ever been stung. And I'm like, yes, many, many times. Um, but the really most important thing is that if you're around a honeybee, they're actually trying not to sting you. Because with honeybees, they unfortunately die when they sting you. So that is kind of their last resort, which is kind of a good thing to understand and remember when you're around bees, because a lot of times people kind of get scared or fearful when there's bees swarming around them and warm like in the summertime and whenever they're coming around. And it's important to know the difference because usually a honeybee won't really sting you. It's those wasps, those hornets
Ah,
that will come
yes.
around and try to like attack you because those things can sting you and carry on with their day. But the honeybee is really important. And the honeybee is the only bee that makes honey. And we have over 40,000 different species of bees. So
Wow,
there's a lot there.
that's
And
interesting.
so it is. And these are all just things that I've picked up over time as a beekeeper, but also the fact that bees actually give off healing frequencies. So being around them and spending time with them outside and the little buzzing that you hear from them, these are things that kind of actually are therapeutic in a way. And it's very relaxing and very calming. And even though bees are kind of flying around you, I've always been able to leave my day of beekeeping or being outside with them a lot more relaxed than when I might have come into it.
That is amazing. And I did read that beekeepers live like to be like 100 years old.
Yes,
They live very long lives. And so it must be because of the healing frequency.
it could be very much so. And it's just, I think also being outside in nature is a huge element of it.
True.
And bees, they are so vital to our ecosystem and our life as humans. They pollinate a third of our world's crops. So one out of every three bites of food you take is because that food was pollinated from a bee.
Wow.
Something to think about next time
Oh,
you're eating your
yeah. Have to
and
protect the bees.
yes, and they pollinate a ton of our flowers just to keep the ecosystem going, which then kind of dominoes down into our food and our crops, which give us life. And it's if we didn't have them, we would have a very bland diet and it wouldn't be nutritious for us. And that's why we wouldn't be able to sustain very well, because that's going to lead into our whole health and wellness aspect of it a little later. But nutrition
Wow.
is key, and the bees are really the foundation of that.
That is amazing. And I've got to ask, what inspired you to begin that? Because, you don't meet people that actually are beekeepers very often.
Yeah, my great uncle actually did the beekeeping as a hobby. And I was able to learn from him growing up over the years. And when I graduated college in 2019, he unfortunately was ill. So, as I was job searching, like every other student, I was actually caretaking for him and working part time, trying to find something with my degree. And I was able to really take on the full summer of beekeeping that year and really understand everything because he was always teaching me, but now I was able to do it all on my own,
I see.
physically because he couldn't. So I was sort of taking over for him, and it just led to me asking the question of like, what can we do with this honey and how can we bring this to people? The honey is delicious. I know you've tried it before, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I was like, what do you think? Like, can we take this to farmers markets or something? And my uncle was like, you know what? If you do all the work for it, go ahead, do what you want. Like, I just want you to learn how to beekeep. And I was like, okay. And so he kind of mentored me and allowed me to use the space and gave me that opportunity to build something there.
That's awesome. It's wow. And I still don't understand how you manage it all. But last question about the bees. So where do they go in the wintertime? Do they, because I know it's I saw snow on the ground now up there.
Right. Yeah, we just had a big snowstorm here. But during the winter time, the bees will actually hibernate. And here at our bee farm, I have a big garage structure basically that I put the hives into during the winter time. So they're actually protected from all of the elements. Yes, they still have airflow, which is pretty cold. They need that to breathe, but it increases their chances of survival a lot.
Yes.
And but yeah, during the wintertime, they just kind of they literally chill. Like they chill together in this little ball and they buzz all around very, very slowly and they just kind of hang out until it gets warm enough for them to come out again.
That's interesting. They just survive for months
Mm-hmm.
with such little activity.
Yes, I will go in and I will give them food. So their food is their own honey that they
Okay.
produce. And I will go and I'll make sure that they're doing okay when we have these warmer days here. But and so far so good. They're all doing okay. They're still buzzing around very slowly, but they're there.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, getting into the fitness side, how did you get into fitness? Like, when did your fitness journey begin, and what inspired you to begin your fitness journey?
Yeah. I actually started going to the gym when I was able to start driving. So when I was 16 years old. And that was because I had two friends at the time that were also interested in it. And it was something that was other than being in the house and doing the sports that we were doing and activities we were doing. So I would always kind of meet my friends there at the end of the day and we would just it was more of like a hangout, but it was also us trying to actually start learning about fitness. And that's where it all sort of started. And I carried that into my years in college. And then once I got out of my years of college, when I was looking for a job and everything, I go, you know what? Like, I really am passionate about fitness and I know that this is something that I want to be into. So, in 2022, I was looking for another sort of job to fulfill the winter months when the honey wasn't really active as much and the bees weren't
I
really
see.
active. And then that led me to asking like, well, I could probably train, right? And that's where I got my first certification. So I got like the personal training certification, nutrition coaching certification, and was able to get my first job at a local gym here as a personal trainer. And that kind of jump started the whole training aspect of everything. And then in 2023, I signed up for my first natural bodybuilding competition.
Nice.
So then we did that, and we've done three competitions since then,
Wow.
and then was able to open up our own facility here in the meantime as well.
You really hit the ground running. That's a lot in, since 2020 with starting the Honey House and then
Mm-hmm.
another business
Mm-hmm.
within 5 years,
Yeah.
managing both, as well as the fitness journey. So that's, yeah, very inspiring for
Yes.
sure.
Definitely. I am very grateful for that time because doing that first bodybuilding show for me actually was a big 180 in my fitness journey as well. I thought that I was doing all the right things, but doing this competition really opened my eyes to a whole new level of training and a whole new perspective on the industry itself. and just was able to allow me to better myself physically in many ways, which led to mental gain and emotional gain, and it kind of all trickles down after that. So, yeah, I'm very blessed and happy to be able to have gone through those experiences and now being able to share that knowledge with other people.
Oh, definitely. No, that makes sense. And it's amazing how it's so integrated. People, used to think fitness was fitness, but it's really holistic.
Mm-hmm.
And
Way deeper than the physical.
oh yeah, no, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
If you could go back and this kind of segues right into this, if you can go back and give yourself advice to your younger self, maybe let's say 10 years ago
Mm-hmm.
or less, what would you say?
I would say I would tell her to try something that she's interested in immediately. Don't wait on it.
Not to waste time. Okay.
Don't waste time on it. If you are drawn to something, you're interested in trying something, don't wait on it. Go try it because the faster you can figure out if something works for you or not will save you time in the long run.
I like that.
Go try it. I wanted to do that bodybuilding show for years, and for a long time I was like, no, I'm not like I would just kind of push it off and push it off, and until I was like, you know what? I was real with myself, and I'm like, I have no obligations not to do it. I have no reason not to do it. Why not try it? See what happens. And it really changed my life. So you never know.
That's a good turning point when you kind of cut the excuses out and
Yep.
hold yourself accountable like that. That's
Yep.
amazing.
Yep. So that's what
Awesome.
I would say. Don't wait. Just go do and try it, and then you'll know. And then you can carry on with your life without wondering and waiting and questioning, is this going to be something that's worth its while or not?
I love that. So basically, not to be afraid of, the unexpected or failure, just to go for it.
Absolutely, because ultimately there isn't really a failure, as cliche as that might sound. It's just one way that doesn't work.
Very true.
That's it. It's there's nothing more to it.
Very true. No, that's a good point.
Hmm.
That actually reminds me, I wanted to ask if you could share a defining moment that when you realized you were more capable than you previously thought. So that I know that could be so many different areas. I'm curious to
Hmm.
see what you say.
A defining moment.
Sort of like a turning point when you realize, like, wow, I'm much more capable than I ever knew.
I actually went on my first solo trip to before I started the bodybuilding competition. I had my mom had got a ticket to this like entrepreneur seminar that was in Las Vegas, and I've traveled before by myself, but it wasn't ever to a destination where I was going to be completely on my own.
I see.
And so I was like a little nervous about it, but I'm like, yeah, why not? And I was able to go into that and with an open mind, and that there I was like, yeah, I can pretty much do whatever. And then it really led into the first bodybuilding show and pushing myself to those extremes, which is a whole other big turning point. But this kind of all happens within like a 6 month period at that time. So it's like there is that moment, but it's all these tiny little steps that really like make that big pivot for somebody. Sometimes it happens overnight and within a moment, but then it's like those actions that are followed with that that really make that change for somebody.
I see. And that does make sense because speaking of your journey, I can see how in a relatively short amount of time you got the ball rolling and then it snowballed
Mm-hmm.
into so that's cool to
Exactly.
see.
The domino effect. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. If your journey is a funny question, but if your journey was turned into a movie, what would the title be?
That's a great question. Um, I would say probably something along the lines of what I mentioned earlier, which is comfortably uncomfortable.
That's gonna be the title of this episode. I like
Comfortably
that.
Comfortable,
Comfortably
definitely.
uncomfortable.
Because it doesn't matter what would happen if you are so confident in yourself and you can get to that level, knowing that you can adjust and adapt to literally anything that might be thrown at you, then it could be anything. It doesn't matter. It all comes to your mentality towards that, which is okay, you could tell me that the sky is purple tomorrow. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, what am I supposed to do? So it's comfortably uncomfortable. Definitely.
I like that. Yeah, not being afraid, like
Afraid.
knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you.
100%.
Good. That's a
That
good
comes with
answer.
time though, but you got to work on that, right? So because people often think about like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, this mental transition happened over a period of time of me constantly every single day telling myself that yeah, that's okay. Yes, this will be okay, or I can handle this. I can do this. What makes me think I cannot do this? And just asking those questions when challenges arise. So it's that would be the title of my movie for sure.
I like that. No, it's a good mindset for sure. Very
Hmm.
mature. I feel like everyone has their own journey, but it definitely, it seems like the majority don't realize these things,
Hmm. It
and
takes
so
time. It takes time.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And kind of going back to what you were saying before, how has fitness shaped other areas of your life beyond just physical?
Hmm. It instills discipline. That's first and foremost. And when you can apply discipline to the other areas of your life, then you're definitely going to succeed in all of those. Not only discipline, but consistency with it. The discipline comes in when you're tired, when you're hungry, when something bad just happened for the day or whatever it is, but you're still showing up to go and dedicate that time to yourself, whether that's in the gym or maybe going to sit down and learn something new, that you take your brain and you can focus on that moment because you know it's going to better you in the long run, despite the fact that you're tired or hungry or something bad happened. So it's the discipline, it's the consistency, and then I always say it's the patience that comes with those
The
things. So
patience.
fitness in itself, right? It's you have to wait essentially to get those results that you're looking for, because especially when you're transforming your physical, um that takes time. That takes time. And I kind of, to put it into perspective, it's like it took you all these years to get to this point that you're currently in. So how long do you think it's going to take to get you to a different point that you want to be in, I should
That's a
say.
very good point. That is
Yeah.
a very good point that people need to remember
Yes.
for sure.
So right, so the consistency, the discipline, the patience, those three aspects, like those are key elements that come from the fitness journey and being in this lifestyle, that if you apply them to literally anything else within your life, whether that's, your job or with a relationship or trying something new, a new hobby, you have to apply those in order for you to even know if this is going to be successful or not.
Wow. No, I like the way you put that for sure. And I was gonna say it's interesting how well it's inspiring how with fitness it's you get what you put in, and there's no shortcuts. Like you can't
Yeah.
pay for to be on a different level health wise. It's like
Mhm.
you have to earn it.
You have to earn it. It's up to you to earn it. Like nobody else is going to help you. There are no shortcuts. Like the shortcut is taking that time to be disciplined and consistent and patient.
So
And
symbolic of life.
yeah, and that timeline is different for everybody depending on their goals. So it's like also with the goal setting thing, people put a really big goal on how they might want to look like or whatever their um physicality allows them to go to, but then it's everything you do in between and leading up to it. Those small steps that you take lead to that big result that you're looking for.
That's true. I like the way you break it down.
Hmm.
It's you simplify it where it seems much more because people get overwhelmed, and
Yeah, it
so
can be overwhelming, definitely.
definitely.
But I try to compare it to other aspects of people's lives. So for example, if I have a client who's really good at accounting or who's really good at, I don't know, painting. It's like something like that. I'm like, well, do you paint something overnight and it's perfect like that? Like, or do you paint something within an hour to get this big, beautiful mural? Like, no, it takes days, it takes time, it takes details and persistence and, color and changing and all these things. So that whole process of whatever you're really good at can be applied to your fitness journey as well.
Absolutely. I love that. When you first got started, what was your biggest challenge, would you say, with your personal fitness journey?
Ooh, personally, I think it was leaving the old person behind,
The identity or
identity. So
okay.
it's changing the identity, right? You want to be a certain person or get to a certain level, but you can't be that person and still be your current self. And that's a very hard perspective to understand sometimes because to make a big transformative switch like that physically, it's going to force you to change your mental state, your emotional state, how you think towards something. So, however you are currently and what your thought processes are now, if you want to be better, then you're going to have to think better and work out better and learn how to do things better and more efficiently, which forces you to leave behind whatever you think you knew at that
Oh
time.
yeah. Like
Mm-hmm.
the old you has to
Yeah.
almost like die and be reborn.
Yes, absolutely. So, and then once you can kind of make that switch and understand that mindset, then it's much easier to adapt to continuously raising your own bar after that point. So once you can kind of be like, oh yeah, I made this switch once, then you can just continuously do that as you progress through your journey. And I think that was like a big challenge at that time to personally to say, okay, we don't want to be her anymore or that girl anymore. We want to look like this person and be this image that we have in our head and be able to do all these things and feel, and most importantly, feel good, like feel really good physically and emotionally. So that means, yeah, I'm going to have to change my thinking and change the way that I train and the way that I eat and all of these different things.
Huh. It's I agree 100%. It's just interesting to hear from that perspective because normally people will say, like a particular challenge, but that's so symbolic because you're right. It comes down to the habits, letting go of the old habits, the who you feel that you are
Yeah.
inherently.
Yep.
Like if you feel like someone that parties a lot,
Right.
someone that has those lifestyles, if someone feels like lazy,
Right.
then everything. You're right about that.
You got to essentially sacrifice all those things to be this other version that you aspire to be.
The conveniences, yeah, the
Hmm.
routines, the habits. That's true. Yeah, letting go of all of that and then stepping into the new.
Hmm.
I like the way you put it. That was a
Hmm.
very unique perspective.
Thank you. And anyone
What?
can do it. I always say, I'm like, anyone can do it. You just have to believe and understand that you can.
Good, good. No, that's true. What is your deeper why that drives you to staying committed to fitness? Like your fundamental why, would you say?
First and foremost, mm, I do it for myself. I know that if I take care of myself and make sure physically I'm fit and my body is in check and I'm eating well and feeling it well, then that's the only way that I can perform better and essentially help other people. It's kind of like that saying people often use, like, how can you fill up somebody's other cup if yours is not full or overflowing. So I make sure that my cup is almost always at the top or overflowing so I have a little bit more to give to other people and help them and put them in that same light, because when you can get to this point, it's really everything is much better. And why we all deserve to be living like that, I think. So despite all of the challenges that everybody faces, and yeah, so that's my initial fundamental why behind it. I think in order for me to be a better person and greater person for others, like it all starts with yourself.
Wow. No, definitely. I like that. It I was gonna say it's amazing how when you just take care of yourself, everything else unfolds. And I like the way you put it's basically a part of you, part of your habits, like brushing your teeth or
Mhm.
getting the right amount of sleep or eating, you know,
Yeah,
dinner.
that looks
Like
different
you,
for everybody, but yes,
yeah, but
different. Yeah.
something you basically have to do it in order to function at your best, to
Yes.
sum it up. I
Yes.
like that. Huh.
Mhm.
You're jumping around in the fitness section. I was going to ask you, oh yeah, common mistakes that you see for people who are new to fitness. Since you're in the industry, what
Mhm.
would you say are some common mistakes and ways around them?
Mhm. I think that there is so much information out there that the information is on overload. Like it's saturated with all these different ways of working out, eating styles, recovery styles. There's people who never really hear about recovery, speaking of, and there's so many elements to the fitness journey. With that oversaturation that we have, I think the common mistake is that people want to listen to one person when it's really not about following one person's plan. It's about, I think, taking some time to research what is out there and what works for you the best. Because we are all so different, our bodies all operate so different. What this person is doing might not work for this person, and so on and so forth. So, that common mistake is like, well, so and so is doing it and look at how they look. I want to look like that, so I must follow everything they do. And then they follow everything they do, and then they find like, well, my body's not responding to that as well, especially with females versus males. Like our female body is extremely different than the male body and the hormones that we carry, and making sure we can understand those and train differently to it and eat differently to it. That's all of this research that not many people talk about, but we have so much out there that it's like not not just it's not just one way. It's what works for you, basically.
True, true. Yeah, there's nothing cookie cutter for sure.
Nothing cookie cutter, not at all.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific diets you follow? Are you do you track macros, micros?
hmm I do track because I do the bodybuilding competitions. I think when somebody is first introducing themselves to their fitness journey, it's important to know what they're eating and how much they're eating. So maybe there
Definitely.
would be an element of tracking that's required in the beginning, at least to understand, because you might be very well under eating
True.
an amount of food that I've seen before, or you're definitely overeating, but it's also just bringing that awareness of what you're actually putting into your body. So I have tracked in the past, I've not tracked in the past, and just been able to follow the healthier food options. But I think for most people, like if they're just starting their fitness journey, just understanding how much they're intaking and maybe tracking initially just to know it can be helpful. But most people will see a difference if they are just making healthier choices in the long run. So obviously saying no to sugar and all of the bad stuff, and finding a little bit more of moderation here or balance here and it kind of varies because even with nutrition, I mean, some people are allergic to things, some people have restrictions to things, so that's where it can really vary. But that's why it comes down back to you and how much you're eating and knowing literally every single thing that you're putting into your body and what it's doing for it.
Basically, it comes down to them taking responsibility and taking
Mhm.
the extra step to figure out what they should have
Right.
and track it and have awareness. I like that.
Which is where, we come in as trainers to be able to guide them because unfortunately, even with the education behind it, it's sparse. They don't teach us how to eat right. And I've
Yes.
ran into many women who don't even know that they need to eat differently based off of their hormonal cycle, like off of our cycles. So it's just like these small things over time that are starting to come out and bring up to our awareness that we need to know. And even for guys, like certain amounts of, I don't know, carbs and proteins that might be different depending on the body. So yeah, it's just being educated, and I think really educating yourself on your own body of what will work.
Great advice. Really. A lot of golden nuggets in this episode already.
Definitely.
The jumping around a fun question. So when you're working out, do you have a go-to song or like a specific song that gets you hyped up?
Oh, definitely. Um, I do like hip hop and rap. So sometimes I'll put on maybe like Kanye West or Drake or something to some of their more upbeat songs. But
Okay.
even lately I've been really into is also into Bad Bunny and
Okay.
reggaeton music. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's the music that like makes you want to dance that puts me into a mood of like, all right, like let's get working out here. So
I like
my
that.
music taste is all over the place. It's more of just like the beats and the vibes that the music can bring to up the mood, right?
Okay. So more so what beat
So
is
I don't really
good?
have one song that I go to. I know they didn't really answer your question, but yeah, those would be like the artists I would look for.
Okay. No, that answers it generally enough. So Bad Bunny to sum it up.
Bad Bunny, yeah. Bad Bunny can get us going for sure.
Perfect.
For sure.
Perfect. If last question, actually second to last question in the fitness section, and then after that we'll get into more of the mindset. If you could do one exercise for the rest of your life, what would it be? So more so favorite exercise, not thinking from a trainer perspective of like most beneficial, but like favorite exercise.
I would definitely say this, everybody hates this one, but the Bulgarian split squats.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No one said that one yet.
Bulgarian split squats with an overhead hold.
I've
Yeah.
actually never tried that before, ever.
Go try it. Let me know what it does for you.
Dang, that
Bulgarian
sounds.
split squats with an overhead hold.
Would the overhead be both arms or well, one arm?
Well, if you want more of a challenge, maybe both arms, definitely, because then it'll kind of target both sides of the core. But because a Bulgarian split squat is,
Single.
one leg at a time, you can definitely like switch sides. So it's how
Dang.
challenging do you want to make it is the question.
So opposite arm, opposite leg. So if my left leg is on the bench, I'd
Mm.
have that like dumbbell on my left arm,
Yeah.
basically.
So then you would have opposites pulling one at another.
Wow. I'm gonna try that. Yeah, that
Mhm.
sounds tough.
It's a good one. That's that's almost like full body at that point. You're holding up here, you're engaging the core, you're using your legs, the whole hip complex. So you're using everything, your shoulders to hold up, the back muscles, right, to hold up, to hold yourself up. It's like a whole thing. So that's the one
Yeah,
exercise I would like never give up for sure.
I like that. Wow, it's funny. In my my whole fitness journey, yeah, I've never tried that. I've done, barbell, dumbbell, two dumbbells,
Right.
opposite dumbbell, but never thought to do overhead.
Overhead. A lot of
That's
leg movements, if you just do overhead holds with things, obviously making sure that your form is good with it, it just engages your core and it gives you a whole new level of a workout with that specific
hmm,
move.
makes sense. I'm gonna let you know what happens.
Mm-hmm. Don't be texting me the next day like, I'm so sore, Anita. What did you tell me to do?
Seriously, I bet that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Last question in the fitness section. What are you currently training for? Any more competitions or anything like that?
I am training for my fourth bodybuilding competition now. I am a little under 10 weeks out from this show. So I'm doing a fourth competition. It's all natural bodybuilding
Nice.
for the wellness division. Yes. So that's what we're currently training for. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. 10 weeks out. So pretty soon.
Pretty soon. Yeah. Two and a
That's
half months. Yeah.
that's exciting.
Quick.
Yeah, no time flies for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Then getting into the mindset and personal growth section, what is actually any morning rituals for mental exercises or just morning rituals to get you going? 'Cause I know you seem
Hmm.
very disciplined.
Actually, yes. I think a lot of people might have seen something like that, but it's really just like sitting up on the bed in the morning and saying things like, how good can it get today? Or I believe something great will happen today.
Wow. So being
Mhm.
grateful.
It's being grateful. Like, I believe something great is going to happen today, or we're going to have a good day, or we're going to do everything we said we're going to do today. And just that's kind of just setting like an intention for the day. And also not checking your phone for like the first maybe hour of your morning. That's a big one that I think people underestimate, but it has a lot of power to it. It really allows you yourself to wake up and you're not just hit with like a influx of information, right?
Overstimulating.
Yeah, overstimulating and you never know what you're going to open your phone to. So making sure that you're ready here before you kind of encounter yourself with the world socially, that's a morning ritual for sure. And then setting up, I'll make sure I drink my water in the morning, maybe a little like lemon tea or something warm for the stomach. I won't have coffee until after my first meal too. That was a big shift that I made a little over a year ago and noticed a huge difference as well. So it's just small things like that. And if I do have the time for like a slow morning, then and weather pending, it's super cold here right now, but I usually would like to go outside and like hit the sun for a second if I
I
can.
see.
Yeah,
That's a nice balance. And I knew you were gonna have a series of beneficial ones that came together.
definitely.
Uh, and it's funny that you said when you have the time because I have a feeling that, you're so busy, but you make time for the important ones.
Definitely. And even on the days when I do have like 6 a.m. clients here, I mean, I'm up at 4:45, 5 o'clock to still allow myself that hour to wake up, right? And get going. And you just kind of have to prioritize the time for it. So if you know you got to get up early and you want to incorporate that morning routine, get up 30 minutes earlier. And trust me, like over time, you'll be able to customize yourself to it. And that means going to bed earlier. Yes. So,
True.
yeah, it's not impossible and it's totally worth it in the end.
True. Yeah, better than scrambling in the morning trying to
Yeah.
get things together. It's nice to have
Yeah.
that time to unwind.
I mean, they say also like set yourself up. I lay my clothes out for the next morning.
Smart. You have to
It
take initiative.
Yeah, it's one less thing to do. Or if I know I'm gonna get up really early, I literally go and set my like coffee up. So all I have to do in the morning is press brew. And I'll
Wow.
put my, dish out there for my breakfast that I want to take and whatever. So it's kind of all just like very fluid the next morning when it's a quick morning like that.
Literally as efficient as possible.
Yes.
Wow.
You make it easier for yourself.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was the only one that would try to do steps like that.
Mm-mm.
Um, and because it's not common. Most people don't think that far ahead. But
Yeah.
you're right though, those little things, if you're that efficient, it saves you like 40 minutes.
So much time. and brain power more than anything. You don't have to think about it in the morning.
Decision
You can
fatigue.
focus on like actually waking up. You don't have to be like, "Oh my God, what am I gonna wear now? Oh my gosh, where's my dish?" Like you're not questioning anything. You're just kind of waking up, breathing, going through, everything's laid out for you. You know what you need to do, and it's a way more fluid. I mean, I've been there where I'm like scrambling, and
Yeah,
those mornings are not you never want to be rushing, those mornings never end the way that you kind of want them to. So,
that's a good point. No, you're right. I like that. What is your advice for those struggling with self-doubt or lack of motivation, would you say? And then
mm,
we get into the less main category.
yeah. Touching on motivation, I actually heard Mel Robbins say this, and she said motivation is garbage, and I agree with her because it isn't being motivated. You have times of motivation, but even she said it like it's not there when you need it. And that's where that discipline kicks in. The discipline overrides everything. It's you're motivated to do something, but the discipline is what actually puts it into action for you to go and do it. So being motivated is kind of like it's kind of like setting up almost this like false thing in the air. Like it's really what you're really trying to do is what's the why behind what you're doing, which you asked at
Yeah,
the
the
beginning.
big picture.
The big picture, right? So if somebody's like, "Well, I want to be able to do, 5 pull-ups." But then and you're like, "Hell yeah, I'm going to do 5 pull-ups." Like, I could do 5 pull-ups. And then you get into the gym and you never take time to do 1 pull-up. Where's the motivation then? Like it's not. It's going and trying to do 5 pull-ups until you can do them.
True, that consistency and
Yeah.
remembering the big picture and just doing it even though you don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as motivation, and I'm sorry, what was the first part of that question?
Oh no, you answered it. It was
Struggling
yeah,
with the mindset.
uh, yeah, struggling with self-doubt or lack of motivation.
Yeah. And the self-doubt too, I've definitely worked with clients or people in the past who are like, well, I don't want to do that because of maybe what people might think or I look silly and nobody's paying attention to you. Like nobody's paying attention to you.
So
Everybody's in
true.
their own little world. They're not paying attention to you, I promise.
That is so true.
And even if they do see you doing something funny, trust me, they're not thinking about it when they go home, like at the end of the
Oh
day.
yeah, a minute later.
But yeah, everybody does their own little thing, and you all start somewhere. And if there's anybody who's actually good at something, they're never going to be the one looking down on you about
That's
trying
true.
something.
That's true. Yeah, everyone starts somewhere,
Yeah, absolutely.
for sure. What is one business or personal failure that taught you an invaluable lesson?
Business or personal failure
Yeah,
that
because I
taught
know
you a valuable lesson.
you just go for things, which is an amazing mentality, and
Mhm.
so I'm sure that there's been a couple lessons in there somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Um, and this might sound kind of funny, but touching back on failure, failure has never really been in my vocabulary, and I actually give thanks to my mom for that, I think, because she never really was like, well, if you don't do this, you're gonna fail. So I think even our vocabulary and the words that we use to describe certain experiences like failing are important. So I would say, yeah, there were definitely challenges, but it was just things that didn't end up working out. So one big challenge that I had gone through but had overcame, I should say, is being able to delegate because I can't be everywhere at once.
Uh,
I'm one person. So being able to delegate and trusting other individuals to do the job the way that, it should be done to make sure that the business is upheld the way that you want it to be upheld. Um, that was a big challenge, and I did do that. And then it was like I maybe I didn't explain something the right way because how this person did it, they did it the wrong way.
Oh
So
no.
it's like, okay, now I have to step back and go back and figure out how to re-explain this because not everybody thinks the way I think, Anita, right? So I'm like, so those were some like bigger challenges that kind of cost me some smaller things, nothing that couldn't be fixed or solved. But that was like one main thing. Like for example, I had like a whole maybe 6 or 7 dozen jars of honey and they were all mislabeled.
Oh no.
because but ultimately it was because I delegated the task, but maybe I just didn't explain it the way I thought I it was coming across. So then we had to go back and relabel everything and reseal everything and it was like again, it was fixed, but it's things like that. And that was one bigger one for me, a bigger lesson that the way that I explain things just to make sure that whoever I'm explaining it to, that they really truly understand the concept and watching them do it before I step away.
I see.
Hmm.
Huh. So not only learning better communication and how to communicate more effectively, but not to try to do everything yourself,
Yeah.
learning to delegate. And
Learning to delegate,
uh,
trust. Yeah,
I see.
definitely.
That's a good one. Uh, how do you stay true to yourself, true to your purpose while adapting to change? Because this change is so constant. And you seem to be so good at staying true to yourself.
Yeah.
Do you just have certain values and principles that you stick to and
Hmm.
then kind of handle life as it gets thrown at you?
Yep. I would say building that utmost confidence in yourself first and foremost, trusting yourself first and foremost, to go and be thrown into these other experiences and challenges that come across. Um, don't lie about stuff. If you're lying about things, like be truthful, transparent. If you're lying about things, you're probably lying to yourself. So
Wow,
don't do that. Be honest, be transparent, even if you've messed up.
that's a good one.
It's okay. We're all human. So, um, I think that way you can always ensure that the quality of the service or product you're providing is good and it
Definitely.
works for that other person. So, and understanding that what you do doesn't work for everybody too. I've had people tell me that they don't like my honey. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I'm so sorry. Like I wish you did, but right. Or like they don't like honey in general or whatever it might be. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like let me know how I can make that better for you. I don't,
Sure. Can't please everyone.
yeah, you can't please everyone. So, but that's how I would say staying true to yourself and having confidence in yourself and knowing that no matter what would happen, you hold yourself up at the end of the day.
That's good.
And therefore your product and your services will follow.
Huh, it all trickles down.
Always, always does.
I like that. Just a couple questions left. The last section. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received from a mentor or role model, would you say?
Hmm. There's been so many. But I would definitely say I really liked the quote of it's not the I use this often, it's not the pursuit of happiness, but the happiness of the pursuit.
That is amazing. I need to remember that. Like personally, I need to
Yeah.
remember that one all the time.
So,
Wow.
in other words, it's the journey, not the destination.
True.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
finding fulfillment in those little steps and those small things. It's the details, it's the little things, right? And to just be grateful for all of those because essentially those add up. Those are the stepping stones to create this huge foundation that you might be trying to make. So
True. It's not the pursuit of happiness, it's the happiness in the
happiness.
pursuits. This sounds so much more powerful to me as opposed to the other way, which is
It's not it's the journey, not the destination.
yeah, it just sounds so much more powerful that way.
Yeah, I think it might be a little more specific because oftentimes people are like, well, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. Well, that definition is different to everybody, and it's like happiness is not an end goal, I don't think. And that's kind of hard to understand. It's like the happy moments because nothing is forever. Everything is temporary. So the happy moments are temporary. So are the hard moments and the sad moments and the challenging moments. Those are all temporary. You will be happy again. The cloudy days are temporary. The sun will shine the next day or whenever it'll come out again. So it's like those little things to understand and realize that that's like what makes up life in general. And that mindset, I think, can be applied to literally anything you're going through, any journey, fitness journey, business journey, social journey, emotional journey, or whatever it is.
That's deep. That is very deep.
Very deep. I
Yes.
hope people can understand that.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, there's so many, so much value for sure. I'm gonna have to break this into little clips. And
definitely.
of course
Sure.
oh, for sure, a lot of value. Last question. Where did it go? What is next for you? How are you continuing to push your own boundaries in your personal fitness or career?
Definitely. I would say with the honey house turning 5 this year, I definitely have some plans in place to expand. I'm looking to get more bee farms and
Oh,
more places to produce honey and create some new product lines and a few other things that I quite can't share yet because we don't want to spoil any surprises in terms of the honey. And then as far as the fitness journey or our healthy and wealthy place here, um, definitely looking for more collaborations, looking to bring in some more trainers to offer different perspectives and expertises to just continuing providing a space that can work for a huge array of people. This is not just like specific to one person. So we want to be able to offer services for all different types of individuals looking to achieve different things in their fitness journey. And, with those being said, it's like integrating the health and wellness aspect of the two businesses too, the healthy and wealthy and the honey business because they go hand in hand now.
oh yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, those are some things to definitely look forward and just continuing to be great over
I
here.
like that.
Be healthy and be wealthy and
And stay
sweet
warm.
and sweet at the same time. Yeah.
I like that. Awesome. Awesome. Well, where can people find you? On Instagram or Facebook or your
Yep.
website?
We have honeyhouseab.com is our website for the honey. We do have Instagram and Facebook for the honey. As far as the healthy and wealthy place, we do have our website and we are currently developing some socials for it because we just integrated with another trainer here. So that's kind of under construction, if you will,
Okay.
in progress. And yeah, but all the information to get into contact with me is on both of those websites.
Awesome. And I'll tag it as well. And when we launch the podcast episode.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Anita. I appreciate you joining today for
Thank you
episode 15.
so much, Jonathan. I appreciate your time and inviting me on to your podcast. We're going to continue excelling our boundaries here.
Yes, definitely.